So what are you thinking about the market right now? Just the general broad strokes.
So basically, I see a lot of correlation, behind, behind the scenes going on with Bitcoin to S&P 500 to the equities. So whatever equities do, is mainly impacting whatever Bitcoin, is supposed to follow. And naturally, there is a lot of fundamental changes. Macroeconomics are somewhere on the edge of potential changes, like some rate hikes that were supposed to launch, in March. There are some thoughts and rumors and gossips that they might be actually delayed or canceled even. So there's a lot of tensions going on right next to my borders as well, because I'm directly neighboring Ukraine. So that's pretty hard to see what they're doing to my blood brothers out there. And I wish everybody just turns more peaceful. And this is definitely also going to impact markets more positively.
It's interesting. So, the correlation thing, to me, it's sort of an interesting debate, right? Everyone knows that I'm generally of the Bitcoin is an uncorrelated asset, but that doesn't mean I don't think that they don't react to the same things at the same time sometime. I'm just, when I kind of look at things macro, you look at 10 years of Bitcoin, the correlation has been 0.16, basically uncorrelated. But there's no denying that when things get bad in the world, Bitcoin's a risk-off asset and sells off largely before those other things. It's a 24/7 market. You can sell it right away. You don't need to wait until Monday. But the other day, the war started and Bitcoin, the stock market stayed flat and Bitcoin went up like 18%. Right? So that was really interesting to see. Do you have a feeling on why that would have happened? Because yes, you have the correlation, but then the correlation, people just like, it's almost like you don't admit that it wasn't there for that time,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty interesting take, to be honest. Like specifically, for the day that some people would call it decoupling. I'm not a big fan of calling it decoupling, because this would perhaps somehow, just mean that there is like complete detachment, of one asset against another, which is not really the truth. But what we see instead is fluctuation, correlation ratio. There's like, you can run linear regressions, between one asset or another, and there's a correlation coefficient that tells you basically how well aligned different assets are. And this is subject to volatility. This is subject to dynamics. It changes both on the technical side, which comes directly from inside of the market, but it also changes dependently on the outside of the market, right? So fundamental factors when they change, and there's a lot of fundamental changes going on for Bitcoin, for crypto industry, I believe, going on behind the scenes right now for Ukraine. So there's a lot of fluctuations. I think more intense fluctuations than before. And the fluctuations are both sides, right? So it means one day, the correlation favors Bitcoin, let's say, right? And then you see stocks collapsing, taking, a head and down, and Bitcoin just taking a rally 18%, just like you mentioned. And the other day you see the reverse situation, or, them attaching all over again and correlation increasing, right? So there are a couple of charts that I have.
Could you, I'll share your screen in a second if you pull up a chart, and you can give us a look that way.
Okay, yeah, so there's basically, to start with, I'm not sure if it's displaying already.
Yeah, I can see your Twitter at the moment.
Yeah. Cool. So starting off, this is my good friend Ki-Young Ju. If I pronounce it correctly,
met him, and I know him in real life too.
yeah, he's a great guy. And this is a chart from a couple of days ago. So there's some update to make to it. But the most important clue of it all was that Bitcoin to S&P 500 and S&P 500 to Bitcoin correlation had all-time high very recently, right? Which means that at the ratio 0.54, 55 approximately, it is of strongest correlation to S&P 500 ever, right? And this is a positive correlation, which basically tells you that there is the same directional alignment, right? There is no negative correlation that you often see for equities and gold, for instance, right?
Which would be inverse.
Yeah, which is inverse, or more specifically negative. It's down from 0 to -1, somewhere over there. Here we are talking about the positive side, so they tend to follow the same directions in tandem, right? So here at 0.55 approximately, this tells you, and told you a couple of days ago, that whatever equities did, you know, this had the overall control and the vote for what was happening, you know, to the consensus of Bitcoin, let's say. And well, and this is I think one of the fundamental background, you know, changes that need to be accounted here. This is not always been the case, right? Just for instance,
Right, and
you know,
0.58 is still not fully correlated, of course, right?
yeah,
So
yeah. I
it's the
mean,
highest it's been relative, and you can see that chart how choppy it is. It's all over the map, right?
true.
Yeah, but yes, it's
Exactly.
very relevant where it is now.
Exactly, correct. And yeah, this is the fundamental kind of like a background, right? And what I think is also, you know, important to mention regarding the correlations before we move on to the charts is that the correlations tend to flip or invert, like change the polarity from negative to positive, especially when there are lots of strong fundamental changes, price shocks, market shocks, one of which is an example of war, right? So wars tend to make that certain assets that seemingly are not correlated, you know, they tend to get correlated. We remind, you know, 2020 March crash. For instance, there was an equity dip, you know, heavy crash on the equities of Bitcoin as well, and on gold. And in theory, there is a negative correlation between equities and gold. So in theory, gold should have, you know, just soared back then, but it did not, right?
Yeah.
Same for silver. So there is this fundamental reasoning that well, the charts, what we see in the charts in terms of technical analysis, this is happening inside of the market, right? What is laying the overall background and macroeconomy kind of like a situation, then this is what really matters, right? This is what takes the priority. So just for instance, you know, knowing Bitcoin is still strongly correlated to equities, like here's the composite index, which is a bit of more, you know, risk on, more risk aggressive. And S&P 500 for the large caps, you know, you see there has just been, you know, a gap down opening, you know, so this actually, you know, had Bitcoin, you know, just spun down too, right? You see Bitcoin dropping about, you know, 5-10% also over the course of the past, you know, hours, days. So right now, after the situation where stocks kind of like, you know, went flat for a moment, right? That stocks went flat here. Bitcoin actually in this time rallied to the highs of, well, of 2022, basically near the area at $45,000, right? But then stocks actually, you know, just didn't follow through to the upside. Bitcoin did. And now they are attached, you know, all over again. So the correlation increased all over again, potentially with the overall, you know, fears coming from this, you know, stupid hell idea, you know, of bombing the nuclear or shelling the nuclear plants, right? So this is stupid. And then you have a natural result and you know, resolution coming up to the commodity markets, which I've been huge fan and bull on, you know, ever since the breakthrough a year ago on
Yep, you have.
January
We've talked
2020.
about it before, long before. Yep.
2021. Yeah, we talked about it like some time ago, but this actual breakthrough moment, you know, through this 50-month average, this is on the left side of the chart. Well, it happened in January, February 2021, a year ago, right? And ever since, we almost, like, I want to say doubled, but we didn't double, we just went high enough already anyway. So we are back to the levels unseen basically since 2013, right? So this is no joke, this is an exceptional situation. And commodities usually tend to rally, especially in the face of well, fears of supply shrinks, supply shocks, right? And this is what you're seeing right now. Well, you know, of course, on the silver side, as you know, part of the Ukraine's well, war, you know, going on, in invasion in Ukraine going on, you know, this had to do with limiting the overall and Russia supply. From the silver side, you know, you see wheat, you know, wheat going up crazily, right? This insane pump going on. Well, on the wheat, you know, there's been some consolidation, like some bull flag, no matter how we call that, and heavy pump just in over the course of the past couple of weeks
Ukraine's one of
since
the biggest
Ukraine.
suppliers of wheat to the world, right? So, yeah.
Exactly, right. So this is the supply in our shrink going on, which limiting the supply and of course brings the bigger demand per unit. So this is where the price hikes so much. And this all, you know, has a lot to tell with Bitcoin going on, right? So if we have a look at well, the most principal, you know, kind of like way of looking at it, the naked chart, that is, you know, price action basically tells you that, well, There's like this fun trend line setup where you have one or two trend lines, you know, in the importance being accounted. Right, we had this one $33,000 loan mark, the follow through to the upside, the first glimpse of hope, you know, for the bulls ever since the $69,000 correction peak. Then the resisting, you know, at the prior support of $45,000, $46,000, and then it actually failed. Well, to hold the support as you got basically this, you know, Russia invading Ukraine news coming up. And then you know there was this moment when the stocks kind of like, you know, got this little bit of sideways and they remained sideways, but Bitcoin actually, you know, rallied to the upside, right? 18% soar. And ever since, you know, well, we got the back correlation intensification between Bitcoin and S&P 500. So stocks down, Bitcoin down. Right now, you could argue it's at the most relevant, most important, crucial technical side. But reminder to everybody that the technicals are of secondary importance when there's a war going on, right? When
Yeah.
there's a war going on, there are fundamental changes and macroeconomic changes. There's an overall exchange deals, you know, trade deals being held in inside and outside of Russia. So it does definitely impact the overall global economy. And this is where the major plays are happening. So I would argue, you know, technicality of the market is of secondary importance right now. So
I agree.
despite it's retesting this support level, as well, you could
This
argue
is
first of all that
Yeah. Bird,
that
this is so
that
funny. Like, I just want to pull up, like, this is my daily chart, and watching you draw it naked, like, you literally drew the exact same thing. Like, same
yeah.
levels, same level here, same two descending lines that I've had. The only thing that was missing, which I know you use, is the 50 MA right there, right? Which is almost about to get tested on the daily. But while it was like
So
watching myself draw the chart, it was really kind of funny there.
so now I know why you got me on the show at least.
Yeah, I
Just
need
to look at
confirmation
the
of
same
my
thing.
own bias. Come on, man.
Exactly, right.
So I
No,
just need
there
people
isn't.
to agree with me. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
agree. And
So
I agree exactly with what you said is that's like, and so Bitcoin trades much more technically than most things, right? I mean, listen, everything trades technically, but I think it's funny when people are like looking at a specific stock and they're like, well, it's right here. And you're like Facebook, you're like, yeah, but they just got destroyed on earnings. Like our lines don't really, you know, there's a time when fundamentals and what's actually happening to the company or the world matters so much more than any chart. So maybe draw some
true.
lines lower to make you feel better. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if effectively a dictator says, "Hey, nukes are on the table," that your line's not going to hold very well.
Exactly. Right. So that is my point.
I
And
do
many
like this
people,
area though, right above 40 at the 50 MA where you're drawing right now, and I actually added
yeah.
some longs slightly higher. I want to see us above 42, but yeah,
Yeah, of course, and like I think personally, you know, well, this is the main support to here to hold technically again, but there's like so much going on the fundamental side that it can change at any time. Just be mindful of that. But technically, this is the main support area, right? Fail this, like perhaps some upside follow, you know, upside pullback, but whatever happens in here, fail this level, you know, and Bitcoin just keeps ranging. You know, it just
yeah.
continues its boring story inside its local range, 33 to 45, and nothing happens. You know, it's just
That line is
waiting
literally
time.
the 50 MA as well. It's literally the exact
It
spot.
is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. So lots of technical reasoning, you know, to believe again, leaving the fundamentals aside that the Bitcoin could have some sort of like, you know, bit of fresh air, some relief perhaps coming up. You don't really see that coming just as of now, but you know, whenever there's a relief in the tensions, that you know, it positively more often than not impacts the market. So but it's still secondary importance, right? I'm taking it very, very slowly in case it fails here. I'm probably going to get stopped. Well, at least I mean, on my short-term positions, long-term holds, just like I saw you tweet earlier today,
Yeah, you
you
don't
know,
mess with
long-term
them.
holds remain unchanged, untouched, right for now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm long from 35 and I added slightly above here 41.6, 41.8 or something. And I have bids at the 50 MA too. But my cost base is like 36, right? So I'm not really worried about what if we lose like 39.6, I'll probably start reevaluating. So by the way, I've seen two people ask what the cool tool is you're using to draw on your charts.
Okay, this is called Screen Brush. You can get it
Screen
on
brush.
Mac OS. Screen Brush, yes, it is.
Okay,
on App
it is
Store.
really cool, and it's way better than my lines. I need that too. I'm gonna upgrade my situation courtesy of you. So listen, I'm sure everyone also has an opinion on this. I think we agree on Bitcoin. What do you think about altcoins in general right now? No specific chart, but like, is there a situation where you start thinking altcoins look really attractive? They obviously don't right now. Maybe if you're an
Mm,
investor and you're a dip buyer and you have a long term focus, but
mm.
a little hard to trade right
Uh,
now, in my opinion.
yeah, they're super hard. I mean, the problem is it's like similar correlation. I don't have the measures, but there's just like Bitcoin is correlated to S&P 500 or to equities overall. The altcoins are correlated to Bitcoin in terms of the dominance, and there are some trends in that too. Uh, so overall, the way I see it, Bitcoin is right now the main force, the main point of focus. I don't really see much of capital flowing in, let's say, hedging, just exposing themselves for the investors into the altcoins as of now, mainly because out of crypto being super risky asset already, for its class, the altcoins are even riskier, right? So
Right.
you don't really see a lot of safety, I should say, features that would be beneficial for altcoins right now. I personally have not opened any new altcoin positions over the course of the past 4 months, ever since we got the flash in early December from the Fed's about rate hikes. And so I'm just waiting. It's boring as hell, but apparently you need to you need to tighten your belt and just wait a little bit longer until the setup comes, right? But I'm still in my long-term holds. I have not really sold off any of my Bitcoins, Ethereums, Litecoins. I still have my long-term map, with Bitcoin reaching 100K, Ethereum 10K, Litecoin even $1,000, no matter whoever feels like about it. But unless we all die from nukes, then I see Bitcoin, eventually catching up somewhere higher.